This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Welcome to the G-Spot Podcast. I'm your guide, Katie Silcox, bringing you your weekly self-love soundbite. Join us for conversations around sex, spirit, and all things self-care. All things self-care. All things self-care.
This is a journey into sound.
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
You are in G-Spot Podcast with Katie Silcox.
Beautiful listeners, hello. I am excited to talk to you today about this topic matter at hand. It's a big one. You clicked on this podcast because you read the title. What I eat every day is pretty interesting, it seems. Everybody wants to know, what does Katie Silcox eat every day? Oh my God, so much pressure. I had a student, a friend, a listener ask me the other day, hey, you promised that you were going to tell us what you eat every day in one of your past podcasts, and you haven't, and I've been waiting for it. And so, Robin, this podcast is for you. I laughed because I was like, oh, I said that? Shit. There's a reason I haven't done this podcast yet. And so there is a reason. There's a bigger reason than even I understood at the time. And it's a very delicate subject we're going to dive into today, and I'm so excited about it. But before we do, a brief word from the incredible women at apothecary.co. apothecary.co. There's no M because they're badasses like that. Y'all got to check out Apothecary. They are a woman-owned business that we love to support, and they support this podcast. So that means you get this podcast for free because of them. And we love them. They're an amazing Ayurvedic herb-based company, and you should check out their site. I use their stuff. I love their stuff. Their stuff's very high quality, and their branding and logo is hilarious and amazing. So check out their kits. I really like their kits. They've got a beginner's kit and some really easy, helpful kits, like ones for your gut, ones for stress and sleep, which I love, stuff for detox, beautiful herbal kits and teas for skin and hair, immunity boosters. They have one called New Mom Essentials that's great for all of our new and nursing mothers out there. Oh my God, they have an amazing Shatavari. Check out their Shatavari, guys. It's really great. So apothecary.co. As always, we've got a link for them in our show notes. If you want to go directly there, check out Apothecary. So without further ado, what does Katie Silcox eat every day? You know, it's funny that there's interest in that topic because it's sort of like a way that my system has organized itself since I was probably around 9 years old. 9 years old is kind of the number that's coming to me, that asks that very same obsessive question. What should Katie Silcox eat every day? And I remember being a little girl, and now looking back, having done quite a bit of therapy and consciousness awakening methodologies and through pure grit and grace, kind of come to this deeper and deeper understanding of it. And I think now kind of getting into it even deeper as I enter into this next year of my life. And that is this relationship that I've had, pretty troubled relationship between myself and what I put in my mouth. And so this question, what does Katie Silcox eat every day? It's like, if you go on social media, if you scroll around on Instagram, you'll see this every now and then. You'll see some celebrity, some beautiful celebrity, some Instagram celebrity, some wellness celebrity, or it'll be like an article in Cosmo or Vogue. And it'll be like, what does Cindy Crawford eat every day? Or what does this famous bodybuilding, lady eat every day? And we're all interested, and I think I think if we dig down deeper to what is actually there, it's the desire in our system for health. It's the desire in our system for the life force to be able to just flow and pulse through us in a way that brings more love and more resiliency. And, even as I say those words, I can feel my jaw starting to open and soften, and we all long for that. And so I think we don't need to just talk about all the ways in which our society is shit. And I think if we look at our desire for a healthy body, that's good. There's an innate desire in us that understands that our system has the capacity for health, wellness, vitality, radiance, and beauty in all of its incredibly complex and myriad of forms. And so this question, what does Cindy Crawford eat, or what does Katie Silcox eat? Because do you like how I'm sort of coupling those two people together? We're so alike, me and Cindy. I think it's coming from a really, really good place. Problem is, it gets put through the prism of our undigested and unprocessed baggage and emotional wounds, and even in some cases strong trauma. And this desperate desire to know, what does Katie Silcox eat, or what does Cindy Crawford eat, or what does this beautiful woman with her 6-pack abs, like what does she do every day to look like that, is problematic. Because what the overlay of that says is that if I could just figure out the secret formula of what to eat every day, then I'll be okay. And I will too have this health, radiance, and beauty that I long for. And so what I want us to be able to do is decouple the longing for our life force, the longing for our health, decouple that from the need to know everything someone else is doing or some system says you should do. Okay, so starting from that place. In Tantra, we can know when we're close to truth when it seems that we're holding two paradoxical qualities all at once. And so Ayurveda, there's an amazing book I'll put the link to in the show notes from one of my mentors, which is Dr. Claudia Welch. And she wrote a book called Balance Your Hormones, Balance Your Life. If you don't have that book in your lady library, click on the link and support her and buy that. So in that book, which is mind-blowing, she talks about this idea that we have in our culture of dieting, and then this other reaction against it, which is taking a number of forms, some of them really positive and wonderful, and some of them really wonderful and positive, but slightly problematic. And so dieting doesn't work. Maybe you've noticed, or it does work and then it doesn't. And then you have the other end of the spectrum, which is called intuitive eating, or body positivity, or I shouldn't say and body positivity, intuitive eating, no diets, no rules, no regulations. And I'm more and more leaning into the left side than the right in terms of my own life practice. But I want to discuss what Claudia says and what Ayurveda says about what should we eat every day. And all of us should hold body love, body positivity, and intuitive eating as the goal. That is what Ayurveda says. It says there is a natural animal force inside of us that absolutely knows what our body needs. And when we can tap into that intuitive voice of our body will always tell us what we need in the moment. It's like an animal. An animal in the wild, you will not find animals in the wild who are overweight or emotionally binging on animals' version of potato chips. You won't find that. Animals also don't store trauma. Animals in the wild are able to completely digest the food that they eat, unless they're dealing with some sort of disease. Animals can also digest their experience in the moment. They don't run around the jungle holding residue of their past. We do see animals being overweight and traumatized, emotionally disturbed, etc., in domesticated animals. And that's largely because what we kind of have overridden their innate system. You also are an animal who's been domesticated. And so all of us are operating with all these patterns and overlays on our innate hunger and our innate eating system that will always tell us what we need. Yeah. So cool. Like we can all agree. We can all get on board. We have this system inside of us that is innate, that is intuitive, and that will never lead us down the wrong path. Got it? We want that. We live for that, right? This is like such a positive movement to make in your life. The issue happens when that system is so overridden by emotional residue or intellectual residue where you think you should eat a certain way or you are emotionally eating. So Dr. Claudia in her book, she says, here's the example of intuitive eating. Like Jane goes out for a big, hour-long walk. It's a sunny, beautiful, late spring day. She comes home a little bit sweaty, eats a salad, feels great afterwards. Jane number 2, goes out during the day, has a hectic, stressful day. It's late winter. She comes home and she desires to eat, a tub of ice cream. She eats it, feels like shit. So like what we have to make the distinction is between our emotional cravings, our nervous system patterning that may lead to inappropriate eating decision-making, and our innate wild animal self that knows what we need. And so I always say to my students in Ayurveda school, like rarely is your intuition going to be like, you know what, you need to eat like 3 bags of potato chips, a whole hunk of cheese, and the whole tub of ice cream. Like your animal body would only be screaming for you to do that if you were literally like on the brink of starvation. And even then your animal body wouldn't eat that much because when you're starving, you can actually only eat a little bit when you do get food. So we have to be able to make the distinction between our cravings and our emotional cravings and even our biochemistry cravings, because if we've been doing the binge eating thing, which has been my particular gremlin my entire life almost, if we've been doing that, our organ systems are biochemically primed for binge eating. Our neurosynapses in our brain are biochemically primed for binge eating. Our chemistry is primed to make decisions that are based on our nervous system and our emotional patterning, not our wild animal intuitive eating pattern. And so we have to be able to make this distinction between what it seems like we're craving. And really, guys, like I know it feels like, oh my God, I need this and I want this. But being able to distinguish between that and what we actually need, which can be very actually oppositional things and sometimes not oppositional. And so one of the things that I personally am doing and working with is releasing myself from the tyranny of even Ayurveda, releasing myself from the tyranny of any sort of restrictive system that lays down intellectual overlays. I'm a big fan I love the plant paradox, and that may seem ironically paradoxical because plant paradox is one of the most restrictive systems out there. Plant paradox has been really helpful for me because it has helped me counteract a lot of the inflammation in my system based on a lifetime of the Roundup that's been in the chemicals, the Roundups that's been in the food that most of us, especially born in the 1980s and onward, have been under just an onslaught of when we were very young. So here's another paradox to throw out at you in terms of what does Katie Silcox eat. There have been, and what I love about Ayurveda is its emphasis on food preparation and traditional food preparation. So it's, again, we're close to the truth when we're holding paradox in our hands. And so what we have to do is really lean into these nature-based systems such as Ayurveda, that teach us about the quality of the food and how we can best prepare the food to optimize it for our digestive system. So in other words, we have to intuitively eat and give a little bit of wisdom rule around food preparation. And I think what I love about Ayurveda is it teaches us that. And what I love about Plant Paradox, it's also saying some things that are very similar to what Ayurveda says, which is, if you look at traditional societies, whether it be India or China or Italy, Greece, the Native American populations, what you see is that there was a lineage of food preparation methodologies. And so if you go to the Andes, the way they prepare quinoa, which has become sort of a pop health food, the way that they prepare quinoa is a multiple day long process involving soaking and fermentation to make the quinoa way more digestible. In Italy, you don't eat brown bread. In France as well, you eat white processed bread. So there's a process through which the grain and the gluten in the grain and the lectin in the grain underwent this process that broke it down. Peasants were given brown bread. Similarly, in China, if you go to China and all of Asia today, you will not find them eating unhulled brown rice. You will find them eating hulled, prepared, soaked, sometimes for days, white rice, and oftentimes cooked in a more pressurized way. So all of this to say, there is a great wisdom in some rules and regulations around food combining and food preparation. So we have to love that and lean into that and trust that and honor our grandmothers and grandfathers that wisdom is coming from, right? So I've dedicated my whole life to that. You guys know I have a whole Ayurveda training program, which, by the way, we're now taking signups for level 1 rather, which starts next January, and we're already getting people signing up. So check that out if you're interested in all these rules and overlays and loving, wisdom traditions that we need to lean into. My tendency has been very Ayurvedic and scientific and nutritional based, and that involves a lot of rules and laws. I'm a doctor, an Ayurveda witch doctor by trade, and so as a healer woman and as a student of Tantra and a student of science, we love these rules and regulations, and they can help us. That is a masculine approach. If we only work from the masculine approach, we never get into what Ayurveda actually says, which is the goal is to get to the Swashthya, which is the seat in which the self resides, which is our own animal aliveness and wildness. And another way of saying that is the truth of our own heart, which is limitless, has no trauma, has no boundaries, knows only love and expansion. And that part of ourself always knows what you need to put in your mouth. And that's what I'm becoming more and more and more interested in, because as I learn to trust that, a whole world of emotion starts to open up. When I actually have done the incredibly brave work that I really encourage you to do, which is to stop, put my hand on my heart, ask my body, what are you in the mood for? Another better way of maybe saying it is, what can I give you? Like, what do you need? And then letting the body give me the answer. And sometimes it comes to me in terms of images, like I'll see the food or I'll smell something or words, like I'll know this is what I want. The more all the emotion that I've been avoiding through the use of food as my lover comes to the surface. And guess what, you guys, that fucking sucks. It is not fun. This is difficult. This is difficult. What I'm speaking about today is something that almost all women, or who I work with primarily, know what I'm talking about. Most women on this planet have been working very hard to make themselves smaller for many, many, many years. There's a beautiful book. And again, the link for our books we always put in the show notes. One of my favorite books that I'm reading right now is Geneen Roth, who one of my favorite books of all time is Women, Food, and God. And she says that a woman's relationship to God is shown through her relationship to food, and vice versa. Our relationship to food is a mirror to our relationship to God. Another of her books is called Feeding the Hungry Heart. And what Geneen goes on to say is that so much of the issue is it's a chronic issue on a global level for us as women. Today, 3 out of 4 women say that they're on a diet and define their sense of self-worth by what they weigh. We are literally attempting to become smaller. Geneen said, what if we spent our time and energy on something other than our body and weight? We are losing our energy focusing on our body and weight instead of spending our time on what makes women feel that they belong on this earth. Instead, we focus on what shames us into believing that only the rail thin deserve to be alive. We are trying to disappear, guys. She goes on to tell a story about being on college campus and doing a lecture, and that in this huge room of hundreds and hundreds of women, she asks these women if they loved their bodies, and less than 10% of them raised their hand. She asked the same group of women, how many of you are dieting today? And over 90% raised their hand. Studies also show that 3 minutes or less of scrolling Instagram, especially scrolling, fashion bloggers or wellness bloggers, you guys know what I'm talking about, that in 3 minutes of Instagram, 70% of women feel depression, guilt, and shame about their body and their life. So this really tells us something about what we're all being subjected to on a daily basis, and how can we get out of this? What does Katie Silcox eat every day? Right now, the practice for me looks like decoupling food with media, decoupling food with distraction. In other words, it's been a long-term habit of mine to eat and do something else. And why? Because in that way, I don't have to be in the experience of eating. So I want to talk about what does Katie Silcox eat every day, less as the what and more of the how. And I'm not doing that in any way to get out of telling you what I eat. I mean, I literally wrote a whole book about Ayurveda and good eating habits. And more specifics around the food. And, I wake up in the morning and I eat this, and then I eat this for lunch and dinner. Like, that's not going to happen today. Because if I do that, all I'm doing is overlaying another to-do list for you, another pattern to you. It's like those little dress-up dolls we used to have back in the day, where you'd have the naked little doll and then you'd put the dress on her. And I don't want to give you another doll dress. It's like, you got to dress yourself. And so what I eat every day, I can't tell you either, because every single day it changes. It changes based on the relationship that's very intimate and personal that I'm having with my own body. But what I can tell you is, what are the things that I am doing and have done that have proven over and over again to get me out of this good girl, bad girl cycle of, I'm going to be a good girl, I'm going to eat super Ayurvedic, or I'm going to eat super lectin-free, or I'm going to eat super gluten-free, or I'm going to eat paleo, or I'm going to eat vegan, or I'm going to eat vegetarian. And like, that is a crazy ship that I am not interested in sailing on anymore. It doesn't work either. And so the definition of insanity is to keep doing what doesn't work over and over again, expecting a different result. What has worked? What does work for me? What has proven to work and to bring my body into what I call the God body? The God body is the body that you are meant to have, and it looks different for me than you. There's no right size or shape. It's just the one that the divine pulsation of life force longs for you to be in. And when I'm in that, I know I'm in that because I have more joy, I have more creativity, I have more levity. I have more energy. I have more desire to do good for the world. And when I'm not, I don't. So what has worked? What has worked? Not the what does she eat, but the how. The how. Eating meals when I'm actually hungry. Really checking in and waiting until I'm actually hungry. Trying to slow down my nervous system. I've used food as a way of settling my nervous system since I was really, really young. It was the way that I would feel safe in an environment that often felt quite chaotic for my empathic, highly sensitive little self. Food was the way that I felt calm and nurtured, and decoupling that. And so using things like body yantra, meditation, being in my structure, being in the room, looking around the room, doing a kind of prayer or meditation before I eat, not eating when I'm angry or upset is really important. There's a saying in Ayurveda that you can eat perfect foods and not digest them well if you're emotionally upset. There's also a saying that if you're happy, you can digest rocks. And so that's more my focus now is love and happiness in relationship to what I'm eating in my body. Gratitude, love, and appreciation boost digestive capacity. Worrying about what I'm eating doesn't. And I can't tell you how much energy I have lost. And I know you listeners out there know what I'm talking about. How much energy we lose on just like OCDing out on like what we should be eating. So eating when we're hungry, honoring Agni. Agni is this god of fire. It's our metabolic fire. It's our hunger signal. And most of us have been taught to ignore our hunger signal. We weren't taught as little children how to engage with our hunger signal. As women, we've often been taught to repress and ignore our hunger signal. Or our hunger signal goes crazy and then we binge eat because we've been repressing the hunger signal. So really getting in touch with, am I hungry? Like, what does hunger actually feel like? And then the opposite end of that is when I am eating, waiting for that hunger signal to convert itself into the full signal. And so getting in touch with the hunger signal and then the full signal is really helpful. Eating the right quantity of food is 1,000 bajillion times more important than what you eat. It's better to eat the right quantity of a hamburger and French fries than the wrong quantity of a kale, maca, smoothie, granola, coconut oil bowl in the wrong quantity. It's just true. So how do I know the right quantity? You don't. You're going to know in the moment, and your body's going to tell you based on what you've done that day as well. Your body needs different amounts of foods on different days. If you hike the Appalachian Trail, that night you're going to need a bigger dinner than if you sat around and scrolled Instagram. Don't do that because you'll be depressed within 3 minutes, right? Unless you're scrolling the Shakti School Instagram, which hopefully won't depress you. You know, I don't want to say that we shouldn't look at the social media, but literally scrolling the fashion stuff, depression in 3 minutes. So I digress. So it depends, right, on what you have done that day, on what you're going to need. It also depends, especially for women, on not only the age that we have in the time of our life, but also the cycle that the time that we find ourselves in our cycle. And so I know for me, I have very different food needs the couple of days and especially the day before my period and when I'm on my period. The days before my period, I need way more food and sometimes heavier foods and even sometimes more meat. As the period comes for my body, I need way less food and I want more soups and smoothies and things that are easy to digest. So it's important to get in touch with that as well. Sitting down, honoring the food, and then chewing the food thoroughly is a part of the slowness. That's another challenging one. If we've been binge eating and we've been in that restrictive good girl, bad girl cycle of dieting, we often find that we eat very quickly. Eating fast is a binge response. Like I need to get it in super fast because I know that later I'm going to be restricting. When you tell yourself that you can have whatever you want and however much you want, and by the words you, I mean your innate animal, wild, primal body, your subconscious brain will turn off the meter on the binging because it won't feel the need to get it all in super fast because you know you're going to be in lack later. Just a good Ayurveda food rule is that if you have any kind of digestive issue, eating cooked food will typically be easier on the system. Avoiding ice cold water, avoiding liquids in general when we eat is Ayurvedically sound. We need to be getting our liquids from our food. So rice that has some ghee on it, or soups, stews. We want to get the wetness from the fruits, and our food should be providing our water. If not, you may be eating too much dry food. Another wonderful practice that I use and share a lot in Ayurveda school is the first burp. If you're calm and you are eating, you're chewing to the consistency, kind of a more liquid consistency, you will, and you're not distracted, you'll notice that you will have a little burp come up as you eat. And this is a sign that your stomach is getting full. And so it's a good time to check in and see, am I 3/4 full? I don't want to go all the way to full, because by the time I feel super full, I'm actually over full, because it takes about 15 minutes for your stomach to register how full it is. Obviously, doing organic foods and coffees and teas is really important to avoid ama, which is chemical overload, toxicity overload. And in general, checking in and just feeling into what your body needs at the time. I eat mostly plants. I eat a little bit of meat, and I eat a little bit of high quality fats. And in general, I think it's just that damn simple. Eat organic. If you can, eat local and seasonal. Eat a lot of plants and add in what you need, be it meat if you aren't vegetarian, and fats for everybody. I hope that this has sparked your interest in intuitive, loving your body eating. And we go into this in depth in Ayurveda school. We also talk about this in the Lineage of Love. And so one of the ways that if you love this podcast, and we're getting so much good feedback from it, if you love this podcast and you want to do more, know more, feel more, experience more, we have a subscription program for $18 a month. And we're able to provide this podcast for free and give you guys all this great information. But we want to keep it free. And one of the ways, if you want to, that you can support this podcast is by joining the Lineage of Love. We have the link in the show notes. We have a very special offer right now, you guys. This is so cool, where we are letting everybody who wants to join the Lineage of Love join for free, like totally for free. You get a month of Lineage of Love for free. And that's crazy town, because when you join the Lineage of Love, you don't get this month free. You get every single month that's passed. So basically you get, for $18 normally, you get to join our school and get all the content that we've ever done for free. This month, we are letting you come in completely for free. So the link is, again, in the show notes, the Lineage of Love. Get in for free. Why not? Try it. And if you love it, which I think you will, you can stay. And that helps us keep this podcast free and clear. All right, beautiful women. We hope that you can continue to feed your heart what it needs, be it food, be it the people that you interact with. We pray that this podcast just be a blessing on your life, and we hope to see you soon. Have a great day, guys.
beautiful.